And recall how Jim said on podcast last year that Chrissy supported him through everything when he dubbed her his day one bro. At the time, he was unaware of Reggie's calls regarding the kid, or at least he was unaware until recently. Chrissy may be charged with lying, hiding evidence, and maybe even jeopardizing a federal investigation if the judge validates the recording. This is not just nasty, it might be illegal. Jail call as a sort of therapy session with her side guy. But guess what? It gets worse because as the court proceedings were taking place, a man's soul left his body in real time. Not on TV or in a movie due of what transpired between. In addition to shaking the courtroom, Jim Jones, Cam'ron, and Chrissy Lampkin destroyed hip-hop's reputation like a wrecking ball through velvet ropes. This image shows Cam'ron entering the courtroom looking arrogant and glimpsing like he's walking the red carpet, clutching a USB as if it were some top-secret CIA device. And then all of a sudden, the courtroom is filled with Chrissy's jail calls, loud and clear. 2 minutes later, Jim Jones passes out, as if someone had simply disconnected his whole truth. Who the devil was she chatting to in the shadows? What was on those tapes? And why did Jim break down as if the truth were knives? Oh, we're not just unpacking this, we're tearing it apart layer by layer. Anonymous leaks legal. This is not gossip, rather, it is open battle behind closed doors. And trust me when I say that this is not only scandalous, it is Shakespeare in the trap, treachery, heartache, and a courtroom. It is sabotaging a mother's rage and a Harlem icon's public demise, dripping with receipts. But go back a few years because this train crash wasn't started by a judge's gavel. Rather, it had been simmering for years. And the courtroom was only the last straw. Love and hip-hop producers were crying and chewing their fingernails. A Harlem horror story that no one saw coming. And let's face it, wasn't just fans' misery they never signed up for. At the root, three legends entangled in a love triangle of secrets between Jim, Chrissy, and Cam'ron. Prosecutors had been surreptitiously following Chrissy's phone. And you now know that someone snitched for a text back in a screenshot. This was about love, deception, loyalty, and leverage. It turns out that the mysterious jailhouse conversations from last year, you recall when she was jailed for that tax incident, were merely a smoke screen. But the story twist was that Cam'ron somehow obtained Chrissy's private jail recordings. In any event, the judge let it, and the moment those calls reverberated throughout the courtroom. Some claim he bribed off a guard, while others claim he has been gathering information since Obama's first term, simply waiting to explode the bomb. Insiders claimed that everything burst and that Chrissy's voice echoed through the room, but she wasn't contacting her mother or discussing a legal defense. Oh no, she was saying lovely nothings to a man named Reggie. Yes, you read correctly, don't get it twisted. That's a detonation, not a twist. Reggie was her peacemaker and backup plan, the man who knew about the baby, the man who never condemned her, and the one who wouldn't let her languish in prison like Jim. There were reporters, a full jury box, and Mona Scott herself was sitting in row 3 with her phone out capturing the same scene. This wasn't TikTok drama. These were court-certified, judge-approved proof stamp recordings. Jim came up to court dripping out like Harlem royalty lather on Shad's lock chain, glittering like he was ready for a photo shoot. But the minute Chrissy screamed, Jim can't ever find out about Reggie, boom. According to Chrissy's voice, Reggie hit the ground as if a ghost had entered him. One witness claimed that it appeared as like someone had told Jim that his entire life had been a lie. One moment he was powerful, and the next he was on the news. Chrissy didn't blink and leaned back as if he had just made a game-winning shot in Madison Square Garden. Don't forget that Jim and Cam'ron haven't been nice in a long time. The judge called and cleared the room. This wasn't just petty, it was premeditated. Cam didn't arrive to expose Chrissy. Instead, he approached Jim and explained that this wasn't chess, but rather checkmate. Now, let's examine what Chrissy said in those calls, including one that was made 48 hours after she received. Chrissy told Reggie that Jim believes I'm in here worrying about him, but he never really knew me, and you always kept things honest. If they test the baby's DNA, it's done. But Jim doesn't ask questions, he simply does what she says. Stated that on tape. The stenographer paused and asked, "You want me to type what?" As Jim's vitals were being checked, a fourth call was played, and Chrissy said, "Cam." By the end of the day, the internet was exploding with hashtags like since 2012, let him take his shot. Fans were left wondering whether to laugh, cry, or cancel their HBO subscription as a result of the widespread exposure of shaky-free Jim and soccer Chrissy files. This courtroom drama was hotter than a June Veru. And just when you thought, when Mama Jones showed up, that's correct. Jim's mother invaded the courtroom like the last boss in a fight the moment she learned why her son had fainted. Let's just say Chrissy ought to have hired a lawyer twice when Mama Jones entered the room. The atmosphere changed. The court officers froze their phones. Someone swore they heard a choir in the background and the time slapped the clock. I say allegedly because of the courtroom film. Mama Jones approached Chrissy without saying a word and gave her such a forceful slap that the sound reverberated off the courtroom walls as if it were part of the official evidence. "But it hasn't been leaked yet," muttered. "It sounded like lightning. Then it hit the building and everyone froze." Chrissy didn't flinch. Instead, she blinked slowly. This is where things get crazy, though. Since Mama Jones said one thing after the smack, that's for lying about the baby without yelling or providing an explanation. Mike dropped Chrissy and she simply looked at the judge and said, "So, you're not going to cover?" But let's be honest, even the judge appeared shaken instead of handcuffing Mama Jones. You should let her speak her mind and hope she doesn't lose it. Security hurried in separately. "So, Reggie, you got a storyline or not?" Chrissy was already trending, memes dropping like wildfire when Jim arrived in the emergency room. But the damage had already been done by the time the moment hit the internet. One of them had her in jail. A foamy comment that said, "I've been waiting to do that since 2009, was displayed by another. But wait, this isn't even the most bizarre aspect, was that when the court reconvened later that day, the prosecution dropped all 4 of the jail calls that Cam'ron had given, 2 of which were brand new. Call number 3, which involved setting the place on fire, was heard Chrissy informing Reggie. What does that mean? The prosecution wasted no time in running with it, as if it were a touchdown. "If I go down, I'm dragging Jim with me. I've been cleaning up after him for years." According to reports, Chrissy's legal team attempted to have the video blocked, claiming that she was simply venting and emotionally upset. But the DA countered that it suggested something far more serious, including suspected tax fraud and even abuse of Love and Hip Hop production. Yes, that's what it's come to. According to court insiders, documents from season 3 show Chrissy designate as a creative consultant and receiving payment for episodes in which she didn't even appear. To make matters worse, a leaked document that just so occurred to come up on X Twitter minutes after the court reveals that she received over $75,000 in bonuses, all of which were dispersed through the firm Hustle Forever Entertainment LLC. You guessed it. Jim Jones co-founded that company. This means that it's not only a relationship issue, drama. This is beginning to resemble a full-fledged reality TV fraud case with foamy companies, dubious producers, and fictitious work titles. The DA is investigating the matter thoroughly. Word has it that an internal investigation has been secretly started, and one of the names appearing include Mona Scott herself, who is accused of following the money, which reportedly results in a spin-off series that was never recorded but was nevertheless paid out. It's not even clear that everything was kept private in the trial. Spiraling, Chrissy's attorneys attempted to prevent Cam'ron from testifying, accusing him of being resentful and biased, but the court rejected their request. So, Cam'ron went up there and let it all out. "I knew I kept silent out of deference, but when I saw Jim standing up for her like she was a victim, but no, I couldn't overlook that." He went on to say, "She'd been running game from day one. That ain't love. That's a long con." Before the defense could raise an objection, Kay struck him with one. "The entire courtroom gasped when she told me that she was done acting in 2018. And I assumed she meant the relationship." The judge even had to pause and seek a recess. Jim returned to the courtroom by Christy didn't glance at him once. Instead, she continued to whisper to her lawyer as if they were arguing over a parking ticket. Then she sat there, eyes down, pale, mute, and shattered. Protesters with posters that read, "Justice for Jim." Chrissy lied. "We cried. Mama Jones was right." And the blogs, oh, they didn't just catch fire. They detonated. Shade Room Valor alert broke out outside the courthouse as May broke out. A hip-hop producer revealed to a tabloid that we always knew Chrissy played. And Hollywood unlocked everyone in full-blown crisis mode, releasing exclusives every 5 minutes as if the OJ trial had been resurrected. Also, one anonymous past love was revealed, chess, but we were unaware that she had rid the board. Remind was also accused of teasing and then removing a mysterious Instagram story, which is why you shouldn't give jailbirds a microphone. And let's not even talk about how the fans' Twitter turned into, "I knew she was shady the day she got down on one knee." Others were tweeting in a virtual battleground. Someone saved Jim from his spell that began in 2010 when Cam'ron was deep in his petty under the title, "I Don't Miss This." The villain era went live outside the courthouse, grinning, saying, "This wasn't just scandal. This was legacy assassination. Jim Jones isn't some of Pan. The man who gave us We Fly High, a rising rapper, a diptych king, and a Harlem monument is currently in the news for courtroom disasters, treaty, and a scandal so intense that it's rewriting history. The most terrifying thing is that it's not over because the DA recently hinted at new witnesses who will testify next week. And if even a small portion of the rumors are accurate, we're talking about federal heat fraud, perjury, and wiretaps that were all started by the same jailhouse. Call to a man named Reggie, who most likely installs mufflers at AutoZone, who had no idea that he had turned into one of Harlem's most despised persons. And just when people believed things couldn't get any messier because of new evidence and several charges pending, the courtroom was transformed into a circus as soon as Jim Jones hit the floor, and security rushed in shock as Chrissy Lampkin was formally charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and obstruction of justice reverberated, and the judge smacked her gavel as if she were calling Game 7. But that fainting incident was only Act 1 because of what's about to happen, which has fans, feds, and old friends wondering what's real, what's a setup, and when the smoke, who's left standing after clearing. It's a multi-million-dollar collapse, with legal vultures circling and reputations collapsing. This isn't your typical reality TV disaster, and the hip-hop empire and love are hanging by a thread. Let's examine what comes next. And believe me, it's not just ugly, it's career-destroying. To start, the federal government is now actively investigating the matter. Surprise! The FBI's cybercrimes branch is already investigating how those jail calls, which were filled with plot, hush money, and ugly secrets, ended up in court as evidence. An individual with knowledge of the matter stated, "This ain't just about phone calls. We're looking at wire fraud, obstruction, and tampering if they were leaked, who manipulated them, and whether serious laws were broken in the process." While Jim was unconscious on the courtroom floors, Cam'ron was busy playing puppet master. Some claim he timed the leak to change the story and portray himself as the truth teller of this entire convoluted situation. But Cam'ron is being accused of illegally obtaining the videos and violating privacy regulations by Chrissy's camp, and her legal team has already hinted at a countersuit, citing defamation, harassment, and intentional emotional harm as one of the here's where things get really twisted. Several legal commentators think Cam'ron may have just played it smart. Chrissy's lawyers even labeled it a desperate play from a desperate man who is neck-deep in the same lies. By making those calls in public, he compelled the prosecution to change the subject from Jim's guilt to the person responsible for the entire situation. Suddenly, it's not about who lied, but rather about who covered it up, and the streets are consuming it. Fans are divided more than ever before over disputes, memes, hypotheses, and turmoil on Twitter, with hashtags like #CharJustice for Jim Charon exposes and the inevitable Cherrygate rising globally. Another user shared a TikTok of cartoon Jim Jones. And another popular tweet reads, "Jim fainted because he realized his whole career was built on Chrissy's last cam just knocked over the house of cards, crumbling to opera music in slow motion, and it has already received millions of views." Other celebrities are also commenting, with some slickly disparaging it in interviews and others unfollowing it in silence so they won't be discovered in the bomb zone. The Love and Hip Hop series has reportedly lost millions in deals, partnerships, and goods, and the financial sponsors are stepping out, leaving advertisers in a panic. No brand wants their name tied to this level. It's PR suicide, we're bleeding money. Even Jim's own income is in free fall bookings count. An insider from the marketing team told us about sales after the scandal broke, endorsements to dropping promoters and ghosting. The cycle is cruel and only gets worse. Meanwhile, Chrissy Lampkin has vanished, making no public remarks or interviews. Silence. Some claim this is due to guilt, while others claim it's a tactic used by her. Negotiating a plea bargain, betraying someone more powerful, or is her team getting ready to retaliate? One thing is certain, she is not finished. And this story is not finished either. Regardless of Chrissy's fans are initiating ferocious internet campaigns to repair Chrissy's reputation, claiming she is the latest victim of a smear campaign orchestrated by envious insiders who have secrets to hide and scores to pay. Forget the commotion, and let's speak about the ticking time bomb that enigmatic child described in those jail conversations. If that paternity drama turns into another court battle and those DNA results leak, bro, we're in for a full-blown. The entire Love and Hip Hop production crew is reportedly in a state of complete panic behind the scenes, and the media. Earthquake isn't reality TV. It's a soap opera on steroids. One staff worker who wished to remain anonymous stated simply that they are discussing cast purges in the midst of emergency meetings, damage control, and whispered discussions of postponing or even canceling future seasons' music, major screenplay changes, or perhaps a whole reboot might be necessary. But let's face it, with so much filth in the air, is there anything that can be done to fix this mess? If the franchise fails, hundreds of crew members will also be held accountable. What comes next? Hold on tight, for this legal battle is only getting started, and sealed records could leak at any moment. The court's battles are becoming more intense, local businesses and entire production teams are losing their bags. The fallout is real. And let's face it, this entire story has completely changed the rules for celebrity meltdowns, emotional breakdowns, betrayals, jail calls, DNA drama, and more. Social media is only adding fuel to the fire. Yes, Jim Jones passed out on video. You couldn't possibly write this mess. And just when you thought it couldn't get any uglier, a VH1 whistleblower just published a list of the cast members who were subpoenaed for It's Your Chance to determine whose name was circled in red. Was Cam'ron brilliant for making those jail calls? Or did he go too far and risk backlash? Is Jim Jones concealing anything sinister? Or was that fainting condition simply the What About Christie, the puppet master or pawn caught in the crossfire at the start of a larger breakdown? I want the most popular opinions in the comments are not true back. Let me know who you're supporting next to be revealed, and what twist you believe is going to turn this tale on its head, and if you're shaking.